talking about is Audible, and you probably have heard of it. It's the audiobook and podcast platform that is owned by Amazon. And this really is kind of like an extension of Amazon KDP. So if you've heard of Amazon KDP, this is something that you can kind of just tack on almost as an extra business to that, because you're already doing Amazon KDP anyway, so you may as well also do Audible. If you haven't heard of either, essentially what you're doing with Audible is you are selling audiobooks and you're earning royalties from them, but you don't have to write these books and you also don't have to narrate these books. Now, we've always loved Amazon KDP because of how low the competition is as a side hustle and as an online business model, but Audible even trumps Amazon KDP, and I'll show you what I mean. Just as an example to show you just how undersaturated Audible actually is, I'm going to pop up on the screen here the search results for the keyword of personal finance for women for both Amazon KDP on top, and then I'll put Audible on the bottom, but you can see how different it is. There's literally 50,000 results on Amazon KDP, and there's only 110 on Audible. Now, the cool thing about this is that audiobook demand is honestly growing so much. So at the moment, the current market is like 1.7 billion, but it's estimated by like 2030, I think, to be over 35 billion. So the demand is just seriously going to be huge.
Okay, well, I think it's interesting to say that it's undersaturated or unsaturated, because I'm pretty sure there's over 1 million books on Audible. It might be 2 million. There's a lot. So maybe not as many as there are ebooks on Amazon's Kindle or KDP publishing platform, just because it's a little harder to make an audiobook. You have to actually record the audio, whereas with the Kindle books, it's just a PDF. So you can spit those out all over the place now. You could probably have ChatGPT write you 15 books a day if you wanted to and flood the market with those. The problem is not producing volume. The problem, as always, is finding customers to buy them, right? So her example, there's 110 books for personal finance for women on Audible's platform. Great. I would bet that Susie Orman, who does personal finance and has a focus towards women, is probably sucking up 50% or more of the sales in that category with her 1 or 2 or whatever many books she has in that category, right? And then the next biggest seller after Susie Orman probably gets 10% of the sales. And then the next 5 people get another 10%, and so on. So you create your Audible book on personal finance for women, and you throw it up on Audible, and of however many people are purchasing those every month, let's say it's 10,000, you may pick up 1 or 2 sales. Now, even less until you have some reviews and some reason for people, you got some specialty niche in that within that category. Maybe it's personal finance advice for pregnant women or older women or teen girls or whatever. You've got some differentiation, but again, you're looking at 5 or 10 sales a month, maybe, if you stand out and have decent reviews. It's not easy to sell a lot of those books when you're up against professional competition, recognized names, people who are already established in that. If it's a very, very niche category, then there's not a lot of buyers looking at it. If it's a big category like weight loss or how to make money, then there's thousands of competitors. So in either case, you've got to stand out and be the top of the category to make any kind of real money. And that's, again, really hard. You've got to establish a reputation. You've got to spend a lot of time marketing and getting your name out there and have a message that's different and have a customer base that finds your message more appealing than some of the others, at least enough to buy your book and listen to it. Unsaturated, I think, is an overstatement and misses the point of, even if there's only 10 books in the category, if the first 3 books take 80% or 90% of the sales, you're going to have a hard time making a lot of money with something that's a Me Too or undifferentiated product. And even if your product is totally different and stands out and has great advice, just getting people to notice that, recognize it, and choose your book over or in addition to the competition is really hard. So by all means, this is a low-cost business to get into and try out if you're interested. You got something to say, give it a shot. Try it on Audible as well as a regular published book on Kindle, but just keep your expectations sort of in line with reality, because I think it's very tough to make even $500 a month, never mind $5,000 a month, doing this, even if you put out 100 books, which is a lot of work unless they're garbage books, and garbage books aren't going to get bought. So there's not really any shortcuts on this one.
The most profitable side hustle of this decade is something that less than 1% of people are doing. Alex Hormozi did this to go from broke to making over $500,000 per month. Gary Vee used this to amass his fortune of over $150 million. It's not YouTube, it's not e-commerce, it's not starting an agency. It's not investing, it's not TikTok, and it's not starting an Airbnb. It's getting past the dreaming, doing more than the planning, and persevering through the false starts. That's what separates every successful individual from the rest of the world. Stop looking for the magic formula or asking what's the easiest way to make $1 million. You're asking the wrong questions. The only thing left to do is just start.
Okay, yeah, so kind of a trick set up there in that he's going to tell you the most profitable thing to do and then goes through all the things it's not. But at the end of it, I mean, the answer is legitimate. The answer is do anything, but just do it, right? So thinking about it, dreaming about it, that lottery ticket mentality, I'm going to buy the right lottery ticket with the right numbers and I'm going to hit it big and it's going to be a piece of cake, just doesn't ever really happen in real life. The real way to be successful in anything is to put in the hard work and get through the long, lean periods of time where you're not making any money and you're working a lot of hours and you are not sure it's all worth it. When you get over that hump, and eventually, if you're doing it right and you're selling a good product or good service and you're putting your all into it, then you can end up being very successful. But there's no shortcuts and there's no easy outs. And even though a lot of times the media likes to make it seem like there is, or you hear about overnight success stories, it's very, very rare that somebody stumbles into something that makes them a ton of money with barely any effort. It's the unicorn kind of situation that it's a waste of time to look for. Figure out something simple and straightforward that you can do well, and then do a lot of it and do it for a long time. And that's the recipe for success.
Top 4 businesses with the lowest failure rate. The fourth one is my favorite. Number 1, laundromats. They are extremely successful and they're not just there to launder money like you see in movies, with a success rate of 95%. Number 2, self-storage. A place where people leave their old junk forever with a success rate of 92%. Number 3, vending machines with a success rate of 91%. Number 4, real estate, which has created the most millionaires in the United States with a success rate of 86%.
Okay, I'm not sure how he's defining success rate or what stats he's using. Certainly laundromats go out of business or don't make money can definitely happen, or things change, demographics in the neighborhood change, so it no longer makes sense, or all kinds of things can happen. So I wouldn't necessarily go right to a laundromat as a surefire business. And because they have the perception of being pretty surefire, he's not the only person saying this. They cost a lot of money. If you buy a laundromat, the investment in that business is a lot higher than investments in other businesses. And I wouldn't say it's a guaranteed sure thing by any means. The other one, vending machines we've talked about before, it comes down to the location. If the location isn't good, they're not going to work. So if you only count ones that are put in good locations, then the success rate might be high. But there's a ton of people out there who have vending machines stuck in their garage, haven't found a place to put them, completely lost money on that whole venture. So the stats have a lot to do with how you rate this. And then real estate, 86%. I have no idea how he came up with that. Is it people who invest in rental real estate, 86% of them make money? Maybe, I don't know. But again, it's very specific to the market and the property you buy and how you manage it and everything else. So there are some that would be surefire things every time and others that would be surefire failures every time. So you can't just jump into real estate saying, I have an 86% chance of success without knowing the details. Your chances might be 100% or they might be 0%. So who cares what the overall average is? You want to know what your chances are for your business. In general, I wouldn't look at, I want to start a business that has a high success rate, because that's really individual. You want to start a business that works for you, that you're going to have a high success rate at. And it may be none of the ones on that list. It may be something that is very unique and specific to you and maybe does have a high failure rate for a lot of people, but you have the right ingredients to do it, like restaurants. Restaurants generally perceived to have a pretty high failure rate, but if you happen to have 20 years of experience as a chef at other highly rated restaurants and you've got the backers and the right concept and the right location, you might have a 100% chance of success in opening your restaurant. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it just because it's not on this list, and it doesn't mean someone else should open a restaurant if they have no idea what they're doing. So these kinds of lists and stats are pretty meaningless as far as I'm concerned when it comes down to what you should do. You should do what you're going to have the highest success rate at, not what someone else's list says.
Avoid anything with brick and mortar, like things like restaurants and retail. The build out's too expensive. The interest rates on the loans are really high and hard to come by. They just don't make financial sense this year. Service brands are much less expensive and easier to go. In the service segment, I like things with lean labor models, high ticket margin. A lean labor model is a truck-based model with just 1 or 2 employees, so you don't have a big payroll. You're not constantly trying to hire people. I really like restoration businesses. I like things like pressure washing, just the traditional kind of services that people need, even in an up or down market. Any of those types of businesses are really good for this time. So look in those segments and look for something that's even-handed throughout the year that's not really seasonal, and look for something that already has competitors in your market. Don't make the mistake of thinking, if there's competition, I shouldn't do this.
Okay, so he said there's 3 businesses to buy, and I only heard him talk about 2, trucking and restoration business. And he started out by saying, don't buy businesses that require real estate and build outs. I wouldn't go as broad as he's going. There are definitely restaurant franchises that can do very well. You have to pick the right one and be in the right place. But if I was to be able to say, get a hold of a Chick-fil-A in the right area, I think that could do very well, even with an expensive build out. On the other hand, a service business that you don't have any experience with and isn't in the right market and doesn't have great margins or whatever, or isn't a particularly good franchise brand, you can really struggle with. And I've seen both. As actual accounting clients, I've seen both of those things. So I don't think you can blanket say service businesses or low employee businesses are good. You have to look deeper than that. And obviously it's a short TikTok or a short video. So this isn't meant to be in-depth advice, I guess, but consider the source and think about what you're hearing before you decide what to get into or not get into based on these short videos. I think trucking has pros and cons, but even though you're not spending a lot on labor, you're spending a lot to buy the truck, even if it's on payments, and high interest rates still apply to that. So I'm not sure exactly how that fit his model. And then pressure washing is okay, but he mentioned having high ticket services, and pressure washing isn't a high ticket service. So in general, I think the premise of what he said is that as far as the title, he did not really deliver on in his talk. My advice would be find a franchise system that you think you can do really well with because of your skills and abilities, and ignore what's popular or trendy or what's on a TikTok list of businesses to start.